It's showtime.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. And furthermore, welcome back to another spooky Halloween review. And because it is Halloween, I thought I would talk about the Gremlins movies and of course the new TV show. Specifically, I want to see who the strongest of the Gremlin leaders featured in all three of these projects are. So this would include Stripe, Mohawk, and Claw. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with Stripe. In Stripe's Mogwai form, he is pretty dangerous, being the mischievous and evil leader of the Mogwai spawned from Gizmo's back. He is a troublemaker. He tries to bite Billy's younger friend, and is just overall a nasty customer. Late at night, he picks up Barney, the Peltzer family's dog, a dog that's 3 times the size of the Mogwai, and carries him to the front porch and ties him up, hanging from Christmas lights. So these Mogwai are obviously able to perform acts of superhuman strength, able to pick up a creature 3 times their size. And Stripe specifically, while I wouldn't say he's smart, he's definitely intelligent. The same cannot be said for the other gremlins, who seem to just follow Stripe's lead. And Stripe was able to use the other Mogwai to trick Billy into feeding them after midnight, turning them obviously into their ultimate form, the Gremlins. After a quick midnight snack of some deep fried chicken, the Mogwai go into their cocoons, and they then later would hatch into monstrous gremlins. They begin to wreak havoc on the Peltzer family household, attacking Billy's mom and terrorizing Gizmo. They catch Gizmo and they tie him to a dartboard and throw darts around him and even throw him down the laundry hatch. This rampage is cut short as Billy's mom kills 2 of the gremlins and mortally wounds 1, with Billy finishing the last one. With no more crew, Stripe is forced to go to the YMCA swimming pool and create a massive army of gremlins to wreak havoc on Billy and Gizmo, and of course the rest of Kingston Falls. Chaos ensues, and this eventually leads to the gremlins all arriving at a local movie theater where they watch Disney's Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs, singing along and having a grand old time. This gives time for Billy to go into the theater and trigger a gas leak, which blows up all the gremlins. And during this time, Stripe had briefly left, and he went to a candy shop as the gremlins had raided the movie theater of all the popcorn and snacks. After witnessing the destruction of the movie theater, along with his army of gremlins, Stripe became enraged, and he lured Billy into a nearby convenience store, and the two clashed several times. In the hardware section, Stripe threw saw blades at Billy. In the main part of the store, Stripe attacked Billy with an electric chainsaw, until finally Billy got the upper hand, forcing Stripe to retreat. He then found himself a revolver and ventured into the garden area. Billy then finds Stripe in the garden section, perched atop a water fountain, glaring angrily down at Billy. He waves his gun around, missing several shots at Billy. Gizmo then distracts Stripe as he barrels into the garden section in a Barbie-inspired RC car, and he then opens the shutters, which causes Stripe to melt into a puddle of green goo. Not before making a final attempt on Billy's life. Stripe as a Mogwai seems to be a pretty nasty customer, He has great amounts of strength, as him and the other Mogwai were able to lift a creature that was 3 times their size. He's very sadistic, and even appears to be somewhat crafty, as he was able to think up an elaborate plan to trick Billy into feeding them after midnight. As a gremlin, he's even more sadistic and evil, as he orchestrates 3 separate attempts to destroy Kingston Falls, Billy, and even Gizmo. While Stripe seems to be pretty powerful by himself, being able to cause very bad physical damage to his enemies with bites, scratches, and even choking his victims out, he seems to mainly rely on weaponry, such as the saw blades in the store, as well as the electric chainsaw, and even the gun. What makes Stripe a big threat on this list is his affinity to adapt to certain situations and even his problem solving. Stripe, throughout the movie, demonstrates his intelligence as he's able to think of plans, and when he's attacking his enemies, if the odds are not in his favor, he will retreat and come up with a new plan, a new approach to get the job done, making Stripe a pretty tactical thinker. And then we have Mohawk, the leader of the second batch of gremlins from Gremlins 2. He is more monstrous and animalistic than Stripe before him, preferring a more chaotic approach, and even his Mogwai form reflects that. And I gotta be honest, this Mogwai design is metal. He looks badass. The black color with the white accents, the big spiky white mohawk, the frilled angry ears, the bat-like nostrils, the sharp-toothed grin, the clawed hands. He just looks like he's ready to bite your hands off. After forcibly locking Gizmo in the vents, Mohawk and his crew begin to search for food in the Clamp Center building, and they find it in the form of a frozen yogurt stand. They have their fill, and then they disappear further into the Clamp Center building, and they find a place to make their cocoons in the maintenance tunnels, before inevitably hatching and wreaking havoc on the Clamp Center. And once Mohawk hatches, his monstrous form is built for fighting. He has powerful jaws, sharp claws, he's got a bunch of spines protruding out of his head and back in a sort of Mohawk look. He's got sideburn spikes, he's got chin spikes, he's got forearm spikes. He just looks badass. And once Mohawk and the rest of his crew have hatched and have become gremlins, they capture Gizmo and proceed to torture him in many goofy ways. They hit him with a toy train, they tie him up, they beat him up, they put him in a printer and just photocopy his face, which obviously the bright light he doesn't like. They attach Velcro to him and then rip it off really fast. They just do all kinds of nasty numbers on this little Mogwai. After having their fun with Gizmo, the gremlins leave to go find something else to do, whereas Mohawk makes a straight beeline for the Clamp Center control room, in which he violently attacks many members of the Clamp Center staff who are in charge of controlling the facilities throughout the building. Mohawk is only stopped from his violent assault by Billy, who scares him away with a flashlight. Mohawk and the gremlins later attack the Splice of Life laboratory, knocking stuff over and just causing all kinds of mayhem, as gremlins do. This actually leads to a bunch of gremlins getting mutated. There's a bat gremlin, there's a sexy lady gremlin with boobs and presumably a ham sandwich, and we also see a vegetable gremlin and a smart gremlin. During this time, Mohawk gets his claws on some type of gun. I would assume this is some sort of machine gun or assault rifle, as it does rapid fire. Nonetheless, he uses his gun to destroy the lab before grabbing himself a spider formula and dipping. Naturally, Mohawk takes the spider formula and mutates into a pretty disturbing and creepy looking monster. Half gremlin and half spider. Just think of it like a centaur with like the spider part on the bottom, and then like the torso and head and body and all that is the front half. Really creepy looking. He spins a web in the stairwell of the Clamp Center until he's encountered by Billy, Gizmo, and company, who quickly put an end to him. Gizmo watched himself some Rambo and felt inspired to get into shape, and then he fashioned himself a crossbow, which he shot flaming arrows at Mohawk, which apparently was enough to just kill him. In his Mogwai form, Mohawk is not a threat at all. He really doesn't do anything outside of look scary. Things get interesting when we begin to talk about his gremlin form. In his gremlin form, Mohawk is a threat. I'm not going to deny that he is still a threat, but he's more of a lone wolf. In fact, he's rarely seen interacting with any of the other gremlins in the film. He's just sort of in the background by himself, doing his own thing, and only interacts with the other gremlins if they happen to be in the same area as him. He's also pretty violent and pretty brutal. We see him attack a couple of humans and injure them really badly. And when he attacks, he seems to go into this murderous frenzy. Like he won't be stopped. Nothing can really stop him. Also, much like Stripe, he appears to be able to know how to wield weapons, as we do see him use that machine gun earlier in the film, but he quickly discards it. Ultimately, Mohawk is not really a threat. He's happy to just do things on his own, away from the rest of the gremlins, and the only way he's really a threat is if you're in the same area as he is, in which he will go crazy on your ass and probably kill you, because he will not be stopped. And last, but certainly not least, we have Claw, the first naturally occurring female gremlin. Claw is the leader of 3 other gremlins in the new batch, which consist of Noggin, Gaptooth, and Snout. Claw's Mogwai form is round and plumpy. She has dark brown fur with white accents, a white tummy, and lighter brown fur underneath her eyes. She's got boils on her face, and she's got frilled ears, with her most notable feature, her claws, which she's named after. Alright, you guys know the drill. Gizmo gets wet, and 4 new Mogwai are spawned. These Mogwai aren't like Gizmo. They're not friendly, they're mean and nasty. And these Mogwai don't really get a chance to shine. We don't really get to see their individual personalities in their Mogwai forms, because they're immediately captured by the Wing family and put in some kind of locker or chest and just carried around. Eventually, they do escape from this locker and they go on a rampage in Chinatown, and they raid a noodle shop. They eat their fill, and then they go into cocoons that hatch the next night. In her gremlin form, nothing has really changed. She's still fat, although she does have long arms with those sharp, pronounced claws. She does have spikes lining her ears, also lining her head and back. She has spikes over her eyes, and she has these really narrow, sunken-in, big, emotive eyes with really sharp teeth. Her ears are also very similar to Mohawk's ears from Gremlins 2 The New Batch, in which they're very frilly and aggressive looking. After hatching, Riley Green captures the gremlins and has them put aboard his ship, and they do eventually escape the room they are confined to by utilizing the vents. One of them then falls into a toilet, creating a massive army of gremlins, which overwhelm the crew and kill most of the people aboard the ship, with the exception of the 2 henchmen, Riley Green and Mr. and Mrs. Wing. After using a magical wand that produces immense bursts of light, Claw eventually relents and agrees to help Green find Gizmo, as Green intends to eat Gizmo to give himself immortality. A deal is made between the 2 characters. Claw agrees to help Green get Gizmo so he can have his immortality, as long as Claw can have Mr. Green's ship so she can spread her chaos and destruction across the planet. After helping Green kill a god and obtain all-powerful magic, and even the entire society of Mogwais living in the Jade Valley, Green decides to back out on the deal with Claw, which infuriates her, and she wants Mr. Green's boat. However, he doesn't seem to want to give it up. Claw and Noggin then come up with an elaborate plan to get the Dagger of Creation away from Riley Green. And it looks like this plan fails, but when Riley tries to grab the dagger away from Claw, she hits him with her claws so hard that it severs one of his hands, and when he tries to use the other hand to grab the Dagger of Creation, she uses the dagger's magic to remove his other hand. Claw also uses the magic a second time to turn all of the peaceful Mogwai from the Jade Valley into monstrous gremlins for her army. The gremlins then create a portal to China in which they start rampaging. Claw also abducts Gizmo and forces Gizmo to watch as she tortures and kills some of the various Mogwai she turned into gremlins, much to Gizmo's horror. She also cages him and forces him to dance for her own entertainment. After Gizmo escapes, Claw is enraged and she uses the magic of the Dagger of Creation once more to transform herself into a kaiju-sized gremlin, and she starts to smash through buildings searching for Gizmo. Claw then swallows the Dagger of Creation whole so that it may never be used against her. Fortunately, though, Gizmo comes up with a plan to shoot himself directly into the mouth of Claw and retrieve the dagger. Unfortunately for Gizmo, our big bad is back, Mr. Riley Green, and he gets his nubs on the dagger, doesn't have hands anymore, grows back his hands, and then he finally faces off with the now kaiju-sized Claw. And he tells Claw, "Oh, I still owe you. I know you said you wanted to go see the world. I hear Hawaii is nice this time of year." He opens a portal to Hawaii. The blinding sunlight just starts burning the shit out of Claw. Claw screams in agony, "Kill Green! Mogwai, kill Green!" until inevitably melting. Now, when it comes to who's the strongest of the three Gremlin leaders, we looked at the two Gremlin films and the TV series, and this is going to be a bit controversial, but the answer to who the strongest among the three is, it is Claw. Without a doubt, it's Claw. Claw is shown to be hyper-aggressive. I mean, she's seen literally using her claws to dismember people. She's also shown a tactical advantage and a ability to adapt. So she has all of the abilities of the previous gremlins, her hyper-aggressive nature, which comes from Mohawk. She's got the tactical advantage from Stripe and her ability to adapt to certain situations. Hell, she was able to basically kill a god, or not kill a god, but defeat a god. And that is quite a big feat, because at the point of the series finale, Riley Green is essentially a god. She was able to trick him with the help of Noggin and even defeat him. She literally has the talents of the previous Gremlin leaders. She has the tactical advantage and problem-solving capabilities that Stripe showed to have. She has the hyper-aggressive nature, which was shown in Mohawk's character, and she even has her own stuff. She literally wins. There's no way you can tell me that she isn't the most powerful of the gremlins. And she has access to magic when wielding the Dagger of Creation. But that pretty much wraps up our look at the three different gremlin leaders from Gremlins, Gremlins 2 The New Batch, and Gremlins Secrets of the Mogwai. Hope you guys enjoyed, and just so I know you actually watched the video all the way to the end, let me know what your favorite Halloween candy is in the comment section below. And with that, hope you enjoyed, happy haunts, and I'll see you next Halloween. Bye.